Hello, and welcome to Linking Out Loud, the digital PR podcast with me, Rachel McHugh. And today I'm very excited to be joined by Stephen Kenwright. We are here to talk about digital PR and how that fits into a broader brand strategy. But before we kick off, it'll be great, Stephen, to have a bit of an introduction to you and your experience, because your experience goes far beyond just digital PR.
It does. Hello. I have been in or around digital PR for, I guess, 11-ish years now. So I started out in an agency called Branded 3, which was a digital marketing agency very much focused on SEO. And we had a moment in 2013, 2014, when all of a sudden we couldn't buy links anymore. I don't know if people really remember that. I know some people do. But we couldn't buy links anymore. And we were told one day, down tools, no one do anything. And we had to kind of figure out what we were going to do instead. And we absolutely didn't invent digital PR. I think it's been around for even longer than that. But we were certainly one of the first SEO agencies, along with the likes of 10 Yetis, to be doing this kind of thing. So I've been doing that for a long time. I was in-house for a little while doing broad digital stuff, SEO, PPC, but also web product and everything. Then I founded my own agency, Rise at 7, which was very much in the digital PR space, as well as social and influencer and a bunch of other creative stuff as well. And grew that very quickly and sold my stake in that to my co-founder, then took a bunch of time off. And now I'm doing a bit of everything that I've done in my career all at once at Ride Shotgun. So I'm director of strategy and digital marketing. So I have the brand strategy team and also sales enablement and also digital marketing, which kind of includes everything social, search, and integrated PR. So loads of stuff, but all bits that are just being knitted together nicely at this point in my career, I think.
It sounds like you've done the full digital PR journey from all sides, and now you've wrapped up into one role at Ride Shotgun. So that's cool. So we're here today to talk a bit about brand strategy and where digital PR fits into that. But let's start with the fundamentals. What is brand strategy? What exactly are we referring to? Because it's quite a broad term.
I think if you consider probably the best articulated example of brand strategy, we're talking about Byron Sharp's definition of how brands grow, which is basically oversimplified, a combination of mental availability, as in I think of that brand first in a purchasing situation, and physical availability, I can actually buy it. You know, there is a stock of that brand in that store, or I can find that brand online. So it's those two things. And then there's all sorts of offshoots of that around like distinctiveness, for example. How can you tell that brand apart from other brands? But that in a nutshell is it. It's making brands mentally available to people when they are likely to be in that purchasing situation. You could oversimplify it as fame even more, but it's very much just make sure that when someone needs to buy a thing that my brand does, I am there and I'm the first brand that they think of.
Makes sense. I like that description of mental availability. It's what pops into your mind when you think, I need XYZ product or service. Who am I going to think of? Who am I going to find first? And can I actually get my hands on it? So when we think about brand strategy, what are the elements? And I'm sure it will vary from business to business and brand to brand. But what are the elements that make up a good brand strategy?
Well, starting with that mental availability, it is that brand awareness, right? So there's not just awareness as a concept, as in you know about it, but you think about it in that context. You have the right associations with that brand. So it's what are you going to do to get the name out there in the right context? And obviously in digital PR, we talk a lot about relevance. So that's a big element of part of that. You can start to think about things like segmentation and targeting and positioning, which is a bit of a classic concept, but it's really who am I trying to reach? Am I trying to get to everyone in the whole market? Like a brand, say Coca-Cola would. Coca-Cola doesn't really target a small subset of the market. It goes after absolutely everyone. Whereas for some brands, it's more appropriate that we'll be going after a customer that looks like this. They're this kind of person, or it's this kind of business, if it's a business to business context. So we're talking about segmentation and targeting, and positioning. We're talking about what is our offer to that brand? Why us? Why us versus any of these other brands? So why would you buy an Apple laptop instead of a Microsoft laptop? What's our positioning is a big element of that. And then, there's the more nuts and bolts elements of brand strategy, like physical availability, right? So it's deciding, where are you going to get stocked? Are you going to go into stores? Are you going to be D2C and sell online? And all of those kind of decisions, as well as, am I going to be on social? Are we going to be selling on TikTok shop, or all those kind of things at the very far end of the spectrum when we get into that kind of communications piece? So it's really wide ranging. And digital PR is quite interesting because it fits kind of randomly into a whole bunch of these different things. It doesn't really run the whole spectrum, but there's certainly an element of digital PR in mental availability and fame building. That's part of that role. But there's also a big element of that in physical availability, as in, I get links to my website, so my website ranks, so I show up when people are looking for me. So it's like, it fits all over the place.
Yeah, for sure. I like that idea of, when you think about how does digital PR fit into a brand strategy, it's not, well, when you're at this stage, it's time to consider digital PR. Actually, it fits into so many elements at different stages for different businesses. It really does depend, which is kind of a classic digital marketing answer, I think, but true nonetheless. So when we think about digital PR as part of a broader brand strategy, generally speaking, what role do you think it plays in terms of building and strengthening a brand?
It does play a two-speed role, right? Because it has an element of fame building. And for most brands, I guess it really depends on the size of the brand and the way that you market that brand. But for like a Coca-Cola, we'll return to that example, a digital PR campaign is not really going to build Coca-Cola's fame much further. It can certainly build stronger associations. It can remind people that we exist and that kind of thing. But for smaller brands, it's probably going to be one of the first things that a lot of customers see about them. So there is a big element of fame building for a lot of clients, a lot of brands that are sort of startups or scale-up brands. So there's certainly that element, but then there is the link acquisition and the Google/search engine element as well. So it has those two elements. And I think the most important thing to remember when we are digital PRs, because we can often think, well, we're kind of doing both of those things at once. We're probably not. So if we are trying to build links, which is a very valid reason to do digital PR, that kind of campaign is probably not going to make us famous. Whereas if we're trying to do fame, that campaign may or may not build links to our commercial pages. So it's about deciding and making some decisions and not using the one size fits all approach and saying, well, digital PR is all about brand awareness and it's about links and it's about this and that and everything else. You can use it for a whole bunch of different reasons in that pursuit of brand building.
So using digital PR as a strategy might work for a whole host of businesses, but the way that you're implementing that and what you're actually trying to get out of it will be very different for everyone. There is a bit of an ongoing debate about that, I think, in terms of what is the objective of digital PR. Not so much debate, but an ongoing conversation, let's say. Is it just for SEO purposes, or is there that brand awareness side of things? You've touched on your stance on that, but could you elaborate a little bit further in terms of why they're separate or how they can work together?
I think if you go back to the birth of digital PR and where it really came from, you have this temptation to try and draw this Venn diagram between brand PR and SEO, right? So there's this overlap right in the middle of those two, brand PR and SEO, that is called digital PR. And by the way, nothing outs you as an SEO more quickly than using the word traditional PR, right? Because traditional PRs do not call themselves traditional PRs. But I think you have this temptation to think of it that way, and that's not the reality. The reality is digital PR was, or at least the digital PR that we know today, was SEO. It was using media relations techniques that you would find in PR agencies and comms professionals, those kind of techniques, and just applying them to SEO for the purpose of link building. That's where it came from. And you are seeing more and more agencies able to do a bit of both. So there is clearly a whole host of situations where the work that a digital PR team is doing is so similar to what a traditional quote unquote PR team might be doing, that it makes total sense to just let them do it. Because you're still talking to the same journalists. You're not got a completely different set of digital contacts anymore. The journos are publishing online just as frequently as they're publishing in print. It's probably the same people. So you don't have that separate set of contacts that you're dealing with. You're still emailing. You may be phoning people. I assume not, but maybe some people still phone people. So your kind of methodology is the same. And so that's where the overlap is getting more and more in terms of the actual techniques that are involved are pretty much one and the same now. And so what I've tried to do in previous agencies has been, well, if we're going to do the same thing, we might as well have the same objectives as well. And there's a whole host of learnings there about not trying to do all the things at the same time, because I think that's the crucial thing. And the context is really important. Who is your client? Who is paying you? And what is it that they're trying to achieve? Because you don't have a lot of leeway to say to your SEO manager client, yeah, we didn't get any links, but we got you some brand awareness, because they probably don't care that much. But you're talking to a marketing person, a traditional marketeer. They do want that. They want that. They want links. They want all of these things as well. And so our role is to be adaptable and to try and work out what we actually can deliver in any given situation. Because there's times when it's appropriate to just not even think about links.
You're right. And I think there's a bit of an us and them between digital PR and traditional PR, when ultimately, especially today, when so many news outlets will be digital first, you'll end up with the same piece of coverage. You'll have a similar tactic. You'll email the same person and it gets posted on the same website. And the difference between the digital KPI and getting that link might just be a question of following up and saying, hey, I saw you covered me. Do you mind adding a link? And then suddenly there's an SEO benefit there as well. And it's digital PR, when really the tactics do overlap quite a lot. And it's not quite as segmented as it potentially was in the past. Now, in advance of this, I will admit I have extensively stalked your LinkedIn, and I did come across a post from when you joined Ride Shotgun about saying what it is that you're there to do and how you're working with a team of integrated PR experts. So people that are able to offer digital and brand PR in one place. We've kind of touched on the fact that sometimes those two things are segmented, but what do you think is the advantage of having a team that can work on both of those things?
So from an agency perspective, the advantage is the way that we work with clients and not the way that the work works. Because as we just discussed, right, you are doing the same thing, whether you're a digital PR or a brand PR, you're probably thinking of similar ideas. You're probably reaching out to the same journalists, et cetera, et cetera. So those things happen in lots of agencies. But what doesn't happen is the training and the understanding to be able to talk to senior marketeers about marketing things in digital PR environments. So you could have a really strong digital PR agency who talks a good game in terms of the creative, etc. And the result at the end of that is we've got you these links. And you may be a CMO who's possibly not even sure what a link is. You have other objectives, and there's this huge disconnect between a senior marketeer who has a million things to do, and links are part of their million things to do, but they probably think of it as a part of SEO, which is a part of their digital marketing strategy, which is a part of their marketing strategy, and they might have other things to worry about too. So it's actually quite a small part of their day. So the reason I think there's a real opportunity to integrate these two things is about the conversations we can have with clients and the understanding of what the client is really trying to achieve above and beyond links. You know, if we just assume that tick, we can do that. We as an industry have been doing link building for a very, very long time. We get very good at it, but being able to actually talk to a client about their real brand objectives. What is this brand standing for, and what is it trying to achieve, and who is the customer, and what do they really want, and what motivates them, and what are their media preferences, and everything that goes with quote unquote traditional marketing, right? I think that's the opportunity of integration. It's the ability to hold higher level conversations and elevate digital PR into the realms of marketing and not just a bit of the digital marketing SEO mix.
Yeah. And I think by having that more holistic view, perhaps you can report back to your clients and have a better understanding of what success looks like for them. So it's not just a question of saying, hey, look at all these links we got, and them not quite appreciating fully what that's achieving. You can go back and say, these are the links we have. This is how it aligns with your brand objectives. And it goes beyond just the very top level KPIs.
Yeah, absolutely true. And again, this is the conversation that's been going on for a little while, and you see fairly often on LinkedIn and X and elsewhere, digital PR is banging the drum for this is also a brand awareness thing. It's not just about links, and link building itself is getting harder because of lots of reasons, layoffs in journalist teams and AI articles and all that kind of thing. So there's a really good reason to try and reposition digital PR in that way. But what you don't see a lot of in those conversations is it's about brand awareness, and here's how we measure that. Here's how we can quantify how aware people are of your brand right now, and after the event, how aware they are now, and would they be more likely to consider purchasing from us, and are we their favorite brand in that space? So it's that ability, brand strategy, not just the ability to have the conversations, but measurement is a huge part, a huge conversation in PR broadly. And we've been in a place where SEO has come to the PR game and been able to measure things a little bit better with traffic and Google Analytics and everything that comes with it. It's just another form of measurement. It's another objective that we can tick off.
Exactly. And it's nice, I think, on an agency side to be part of that slightly bigger conversation. Sometimes when you're offering a niche service or quite a specific service, you're working on your campaigns and your objectives, and you don't get that idea of what's happening in the entire rest of the marketing strategy. So you report back and you only get a bit of a snippet of that. So when you have that more brand overview, you get that, okay, this is how my campaign and what I'm working on is going to feed into the rest of the marketing strategy and maybe the social strategy and all of that coming together as well. Before we start to wrap up, one thing I did want to ask you was, are there any questions that you wish I'd asked? Is there something that you wanted to go into a bit more detail on? Or is there something that you always think comes up that you want to shed a bit more light on? Then now is the chance to go into that sort of thing.
I guess the obvious question that I feel these kind of conversations spring up is, should me as a digital PR be thinking about moving out of digital PR and into other spaces and using those skills? And the answer is yes, I think so. And that's not to say that there isn't a space for digital PR in the future. There absolutely is. But I think the biggest space, the most lucrative space, the space where you get to make the decisions and the space where you get to talk as a senior marketer at a senior brand and push the big famous brands somewhere new, is when you have that broader skill set. And agencies are, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, really getting good at training digital PRs to do digital PR, but not necessarily to think broadly. And I think the space that I would be thinking about moving into if I was a digital PR is an adjacent skill set, right? It's like I've said, you're doing the same things. You're really well qualified and really capable of doing those things. And doing the brand PR, experiential, and those kind of fun. They're really fun, right? There's all sorts of fun things that you can get into, but creative more broadly, advertising, totally transferable skill set. I'm not saying that everyone in digital PR should leave the digital PR space, because I think it's a really fun space. I think there's lots to do. I would say at a minimum, we should be thinking very carefully about pulling other skill sets into our space and what we can learn from everyone else, as link building part of digital PR does get harder and harder.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't want everyone to leave digital PR because we'll lose our audience. So maybe I'll have to cut that bit out. But you're right. And I think going even back to your introduction and your experience and your career in digital PR, the way that link building worked 10, 13 years ago is totally different to now. So bringing in those different skills and thinking of digital PR as something maybe slightly broader than we do at the moment, and not separating digital and traditional so much is maybe the way that we need to be thinking about this role and this industry, just to be flexible and so that we can roll with the punches.
Absolutely. I think if we're going to cut it into a really straightforward way of thinking about it, I think it's maybe just time to lose the word digital, right? We're PRs.
We're PRs. And on the flip side as well, in potentially a role that isn't a digital PR role, to be able to bring that knowledge of SEO and digital and link building to that, you're bringing something new as well. And I've seen it before. I've spoken to clients and they'll say, we've worked with an agency before, we've got an in-house PR team, but we just can't get links. And you think, did you ask for one? It can really be as simple as that sometimes. So having that sort of bonus element to your outreach as well can be a little nice added extra. Sure. Cool. So then to wrap up, since you've seen a lot of fast growth in agencies and businesses more generally, what advice would you give to a brand or brands looking to grow?
I would say take marketing seriously, do it properly. And, this has been a discipline that's been around for centuries now. There are a lot of really well established studies that show how this actually works. And I think there is certainly a place for all of the different elements of marketing inside that marketing mix, from performance to brand, etc. But I would read quite broadly about what actually works and think carefully about diversifying and doing a whole range of things, and not just focusing all on one or two channels, for sure. And I think the most important thing is distinctiveness. It's about standing out from the crowd. It's about being different and meaningfully different to customers. It's not just about, they are all red brands and we're a pink brand or something like that. That kind of is distinctiveness, but do people pay for that? Probably not. It's more about, I'm different in this way, and this is why it's important to you, my customer. And that's true when you're trying to grow an agency. That's true when you are a beverage company. It's most important to be focused on that customer and what do they actually need from us, and how can we serve that need, and how can we show that we serve it better than anyone else does.
Exactly. Take marketing seriously and make it count. So finally, I just want to go through a quick segment of quick fire this or that.
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you or give you two options, and then you just tell me which one you choose. Don't have to give the reason why. It can just be gut feeling, but a quick 30-second round of that just to finish things off. Okay, so the first one is work from home or go to the office?
Office.
Moz or Ahrefs?
Ahrefs.
Online coverage or print coverage?
Print coverage.
Face-to-face meetings or virtual meetings?
Oh, both. So, right, I'll with this quick fire, I'm going to elaborate a little bit. Face-to-face meetings are always better, but I remember the days, I'm going to sound really old, when I had to travel to see a customer, a client that's like, this is clearly not a good fit, and I've been on a train for 3 hours to get here. The lovely thing about virtual meetings is you can have more conversations. You can talk to people and go, yeah, absolutely, we can't help you. I know someone who can help you. I've not wasted an entire day, nor have I wasted their time. So there's a place for both. Face-to-face meetings are better though.
Valid. I'll accept your elaboration. Next one is reactive or campaign PR?
Campaign.
And lastly, in an email, I hope you're well, or just cut to the chase?
Oh, I cut to the chase. I sometimes don't even say hi.
I think it depends who I'm emailing, but over my career, I've shifted to more of a cut to the chase approach.
I used to be a terrible person who wrote the entire emails in subject lines, just like, please do this. Like, I don't do that anymore. But yeah, cut to the chase.
Cut to the chase. Good advice. Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for joining me today. I think we've had some really good insights, and I'm sure the people listening will have got some good takeaways from that. I know I certainly have. For those of you who are listening, you can find Stephen and Ride Shotgun on LinkedIn. Both post pretty regularly. I'll link that in the podcast description. And please do give us a follow wherever you're listening to this, and follow Distinctly on LinkedIn as well. Thanks very much.